you knew how to do this naturally?
Yeah, I mean, so I was already in the business, right? I already owned a few properties in Brownstone, so I was already doing some property management, for my properties.
But the bedrock was your dad.
Yes.
Where is that experience today? Where has that experience led you to today?
So now we're AOR Development. My partner, Robert Allen, is a older man, 65-year-old Cornell engineer, but had a GC business for 9 years with a staff of 35. They did renovations throughout New York City and outside. But he also helped Turner build a $1 billion hospital. So he had all the construction experience. So now I was able to expand from my thinking from renovating brownstones to developing from ground up to much bigger property.
So if you were to take away the creativity of athleticism and the video production and the CMBS and the brownstone, what do you have left?
A degree.
Right,
Yeah.
but you also have something else. What do you have?
I can see opportunities. Others, I'm big into technology. I see, I follow and see trends. So whether that was scoping out Crown Heights before it became what Crown Heights is today, whether it's looking at, putting together audio and video remixes. I did 50 Cent's video mixtape for the Massacre album. I did, mixes that Nas toured with. I did, some mixes for Alicia Keys and other people. So did some pretty notable mixes. I actually wanted to do, turn that into full-time. Well, I mean, it was full-time, but I wanted to be on iTunes and but the issue became the licensing. So Def Jam actually offered me to do a best of Def Jam 20th anniversary mix. They loved the talent, but they couldn't get their own licensing to proven.
So in everything that you did, right, in all those facets of your life, were you always decidedly decided?
No. I mean, there was always challenges, right?
But to discuss them with me and how you traverse that, that's what I'm interested in that, because it seems to me that you're kind of in the Sahara Desert, in the ocean, on the street, in the air at the same time.
Yep.
So tell me where that chaos comes from.
You figure things out on the fly, right? So the licensing became an issue, but we're doing it for promotional purposes only. So on TV that's why I moved on, because the license. So BET was bought by Viacom, and Viacom was a bigger brand,
Right.
And Napster had come out and
Ruled the world,
and now that they were now not allowed. They were not giving promo videos to the TRLs like MTV and Rap City and 106 and Park. They weren't giving. They just died, right? So then my TV world died.
So you had to pivot.
I had to pivot.
And how did you do that?
So I pivoted more into video editing and production work for Ebony, for Pepsi, for other production work.
You know what I noticed a trend about you is that when I ask you questions, you just say, "Well, then I did this, and then I did that." Where do you get your audacity from? Because that's audacious in my view.
Absolutely.
So where does that come from? It's come from your dad. It's come from you. Where does it come from?
I guess family upbringing, but being the youngest of three brothers, you have to try to compete with them, right? So growing up, because I was playing flag football in the street, or I had playing basketball with them, I had to catch up, right? I had to try to be as good as them to get on the court, or else I wasn't going to see the court.
So having someone to look forward to, or up to, or against, how would you frame it? Forward to, against?
Again, not against, up to, right?
Up
you got
to
compete up to their standards, or they're just going to be like, you're not good enough. You're too young.
How long were they in front of you until you surpassed them?
I'd say about 14, 15.
Okay, and who became or what became in front of you?
Then I was always playing with people. I was always playing up, right? So
Tell me more.
I'm playing with my brothers and their friends. I'm playing with a couple of friends that I have that are older than me. So I'm always playing a level up. So it's more competitive, right?
But why is that? Is that necessary?
It's just my skill level was, I could compete with them, right?
And
I was
and
athletic enough to do that.
right, but if you take away something in front of you that you're looking up to, or you are against, and then you have to kind of get past. If you take that away, would you still be that guy?
I think so. Yeah.
Interesting. So you're very colored in that regard. And by the time you get to the CMBS world, you said you're in your late 20s, 30s.
No. So that's right out of school. So 22, 23.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. And then you did the gig with the music.
Yeah. So I started that around age 30. I bought my house and started the business VMix at age 30.
And you still have the brownstone.
Still have the brownstone
Why do you still have the brownstone?
because it just rents keep going up and my mortgage, gets, I'm paying down my mortgage.
Well, others would sell it.
Yes.
So why do you keep it?
I keep it because I was able to pull money out of that to finance other work.
Tell
right?
me about that. What does that mean? What is tell,
So
tell
taking
people
a
what
home
fin-
equity, taking a home equity line of credit to buy other buildings. So I bought a building in Fort Greene. I bought another building in Yonkers, and did the same thing. Basically, the Burr strategy from Bigger Pockets, right? So bought more assets. But what really led me into development was the first property that I bought.
What do you mean by that?
So I hit the zoning lottery. So they changed the zoning to R7A, which means that you can now go up 8 stories. So buildings are rated on what's called FAR, floor area ratio.
Right.
So I had a floor area ratio of, I think it was like a 3, right? So now,
In the Bed-Stuy building.
in the Crown Heights building,
Crown
yes.
Heights building.
So now I can, instead of my building was built to 3,200 square feet, I can now build 10,000 square feet for my lot.
That's amazing.
Yes, but you have to have experience. So my neighbors were older. It looked like it was a potential to combine the two buildings because 20-foot frontage is, for a 8-story building is very skinny and doesn't really make sense.
Right.
But with 40 feet frontage, it would make sense.
Uh-huh.
Right? And they were older. They were, very good relationship with them. I would snow their driveway. I mean, the sidewalk for them. We had a very good relationship with the family, right? And I had talked to them about potentially purchasing later. So, but to do that, to be able to knock down both buildings and go up, I had to take formal training. So I took formal training from online courses from Cornell and learned the ins and outs of real estate development. So that's underwriting, property management, asset management.
What year was this?
This is 2017, 2018.
And you knew how to do this naturally?
Yeah, I mean, so I was already in the business, right? I already owned a few properties in brownstones, so I was already doing some property management for my properties.
But the bedrock was your dad.
Yes.
And where is that experience today? Where has that experience led you to today?
So now we're AOR Development. My partner, Robert Allen, is a older man, 65-year-old Cornell engineer, but had a GC business for 9 years with a staff of 35. They did renovations throughout New York City and outside, but he also helped Turner build a $1 billion hospital. So he had all the construction experience. So now I was able to expand from my thinking from renovating brownstones to developing from ground up to much bigger property.
How long have you been developing brownstones for?
No, we weren't developing brownstones, we were fixing brownstones. So since 2006.
Since 2006. So your first brownstone was 2006.
Yes.
How many brownstones did you grow to?
Oh, just 3. And then I started AOR Development to work on other projects and other work.
Where did that foundation to pivot to do other things come from? Was it from the Cornell course?
Yeah, so now that I knew how to underwrite a deal and do ground up and even renovations, I now had, other skills that I could do, right? So my partner had the construction experience. I knew the ins and outs of property management, raising capital, doing underwriting for a deal. So,
and if you had not done the Burt Brownstone and just taken the Cornell course,
There's no way I could be doing what we're doing now.
so is there a prerequisite to looking at or taking a Cornell course? Like
No, there isn't.
no. So that's what I'm asking you.
Yeah.
What I'm asking you is, and I'm getting at a theme here, but
Mm-hmm.
what I'm asking you is, if you had never built a brownstone and just had your father's experience, which is effectively the bedrock to your success, if I may say so myself,
Sure.
if you skipped, just like you skipped, went from no house parties to video production,
Yeah.
could you have possibly done that and just taken the Cornell course without ever developing a brownstone and just go straight into bigger projects? What do you think about that?
So I would have had to have worked at an institutional group in between, right? There's no way to go from brownstone to my path without having some experience or a partner that has experience, right?
Well, what I'm saying is, what I'm saying, and trying to get to a theme here, if you've never built a brownstone and something told you, I want to take a Cornell course about underwriting, executing on real estate, right? And you took that course, would you be able to, without the experience of building that brownstone, would you be able to move forward into bigger projects, just having that knowledge?
No.
Why?
Because you have to go through baby steps, right? You have to go through dealing with GCs, them stiffing you, them not doing what they say they're going to do. You have to deal with the experience of knowing how much things cost, from electrical, MEP, which is mechanical, electrical, plumbing, flooring, all these things that go into a smaller development that later lead into bigger developments.
You mean
right?
the micro failures?
Yes. So plenty of micro failures, plenty of GCs that I had disagreements with, and I feel like they stiffed me. But you learn to structure your contracts with them better, milestone based. You learn by doing it, starting small and not making $1 million mistakes.
Could I challenge you in one sense? Are you saying you and I both agree that building a brownstone is not building a multifamily, 20 unit building? Am I correct? Would you agree with that?
Absolutely.
But so you don't need do you need the experience, or do you need to know how to accept that people will not abide by timelines, not pay you, you don't get paid? What do you actually need? I mean, do you actually need to know how to build a brownstone, then a big property?
No, so there's another
What do you
path.
need to know?
You need to have the experience of working on these projects.
You
right?
mean working with people
Yes.
with these projects?
That work within, so that includes building permitting and knowing what you can and cannot do. And
What I'm trying to get at
Okay.
is when you're confronting certain experiences with any task or any say building or construction, I think I'm trying to get at what is the theme or what is the butter that rises to the top, and what is the commonality between building a brownstone, building a multifamily unit, building the Chrysler building. What theme is consistent? What shows up time and time again? What is constant?
structure, having the structure to organize your contracts, organize the people that you're working with, relationships, right? Having relationships with your GC. They can be your best friend or your worst enemy, right? So if you don't have a relationship with them, they may not go to bat for you, right? They may not take the extra steps. They may not give you breaks when you need them, or if financing is maybe later on or take these extra, they may not be willing to give you a break to say, I'll take the financing later because we need to get to a means to an end where you can start generating revenue. So having having relationships with all the trades, architecture, structural MEP, the building department, permits, even when you get into bigger projects, politicians, that you need to have relationships, but also have the structure to be able to repeat your process.
Correct.
And when things go awry, to cut bait quickly and move on.
So the breeding ground for those disciplines that you're discussing right now was built in building that brownstone.
Well, not building it,
Gut
renovating. Yes, gut renovating. Yes.
But building your character.
Yes. Because there's some times where you know,
Tell me about those times.
I mean, GCs have smaller GCs basically will low bid a job, and then they will basically they'll pay workers whatever their labor rate is, and when they run out of money, they are keeping their 10 to 20% markup, whatever they feel that their markup is. So things may be are always going great in the beginning. You're getting work done, but things start to slow down as they're getting towards the end of their budget, and they're only 50% complete, right? So they've run out of their money. They know they need the margin. They'll walk out on you.